Hello, we are Group 8 of Tuesday batch and we are going to see the video streaming assignment. So let's begin. So there are two major protocols used in this video streaming service. First one is RTP, which is a reliable time transfer protocol, which actually transfers the data. Second one is RTSP, which is a real time streaming protocol, which is a controller. There are four major methods of RTP. First one is setup, which allocates resources for a stream and starts an RTSP session. Second one is play, which starts transfer of data on a stream. Third one is pause, which temporarily halts a stream. Fourth one is tear down, which free the resources of the stream and end the video service. So now let's look at the picture of how a RTSP works. So first, client sends the HTTP GET request followed by the setup request, and on establishing the connection, the client further sends the play request, and the server will reply it with RTP audio file and RTP video file, and then client can start the video streaming. Now, if client sends the pause request, the the server will take a halt of the stream, and when the client will send close request, the server will close the RTP connection, RTSP connection. Let's now go through the code of the video streaming service. So there are two sides in this assignment. First one is server side, second one is client side. Let's go through the code of server side. Here we are storing the server port as the system argument, and we are creating the RTSP socket and binding it with the server port number. This line of code shows that there can be 5 clients connected to the socket. Now we are started to accepting the client request, and we are storing the client's info into this dictionary. And this line of code shows that we are started to running the client server side. So now let's go through the code of server worker. In the class server worker, these four variables store the request from the client, and these three variables stores the state of the video streaming service, and the variable state stores the current state which we are in. So here we are creating a thread which will receive request, and in the RTSP request we are creating a variable data which will receive data from the client socket. Now if the request type is set up, and the state is in it, then we will change the current state to ready state. Now, and this line of codes will be performed. Now, if the request type is play, and if we are in the ready state, then the current state will be changed to playing state. And here a new socket will be created for RTP and UDP. We are also creating new threads to start sending the RTP packets. Now, if the request type is pause, and if we are in the playing state, then this line of code will make sure that the the video stream will take a halt so that it will be paused. Now, if the request type is tear down, so irrespective of the current state, the client socket will be closed and the data of the client will be cleared. So this line of code shows that the connection will be closed, and this line of code shows that the data of the client will be cleared. Let's now go through the code of server worker and let's see the result. So as you can see, we are going to set up. So let's set up. So in the output, you can see that the request type is setup. The sequence number is 1. The transport protocol is RTP or UDP. And the port number is 1600. Here it states that we are updating the RTSP state. Now let's look at the function send RTP. So the RTP packets will be sent over UDP. Uh, so here the here we are storing the frame of the client side into the data variable, and we are also storing the address and the port number of the client info dictionary, which we have discussed below above in the above code, in the port and the address variable. Now let's look at the make RTP function. So RTP packet is accepting the RTP packet.py file, and we will look this in the later part of this video. So we are also defining the reply RTSP, which will be replied if there is error message like 404 not found, 500 connection error, and if the state is okay, it will send 200 okay. In RTP packet.py, we have header size as the number of bytes we want to have in our header and in our video streaming service. And the header is contained byte array of header size, which in our case is 12. In RTP packet class, we have certain functions such as encode, decode, version, sequence number, and so on. So the encode function will encode the RTP packets with the header fields and the payload. Similarly, the decode function will decode the RTP packet and return our packet. The sequence number function will return the sequence number of the server sending to the client. The get payload function will return the payload. Payload is the data which the client had asked to us, and the get packet function will return the RTP packet. So here in the here we are in the make RTP function. We are getting the RTP packet, then we are decoding it and returning this RTP.get packet to send RTP, and this send RTP will return this packet to the client which was asking for that packet. So we have seen the server side of the video streaming service. Now we will see the client side of the video streaming service. So to request the client side, we will use the client launcher file, and it import the tkinter to load the GUI faster. And from the client side, we are getting the 4 parameters. First one is server address, which is the address where we have to send the file. Second one is server port, which is the RTSP protocol. Third one is RTP port, which is the port number of the server. Fourth one is file name, that is the file which we want to send through it. So this line of code is used to render the UI. And here we are creating client with 4 parameters, and it will video stream the video till the video will be tear down or video will be ended. Now let's look at the UI of the client side. So it will look like this. So when we run the client side, the RTP client window will pop up, and it will have the 4 buttons. You can see it is setup, play, pause, and tear down, which we have already discussed earlier.
Now we will go through the client file. In client class, there are 4 variables. The first 3 are for the state, and the fourth variable state equal to init denotes the current state. And there will be four requests made by the client. First one is setup, second play, third pause, fourth tear down. Now this function will be called during the server launcher, and there are two variables, RTSP sequence and session ID, set as 0. Then the connect to the server and create widgets. Two functions will be called. The connect to the server function. The connect to the server function will establish the connection using the server address and the server port number. Then the create widget functions will call four functions mainly: setup movie, play movie, pause movie, and exit client. The setup movie will be called, and it will call the send RTSP request self. And in it, if the request is made for the setup and we are in the state of init, then the RTSP sequence number will be updated to the 1, and the request will be made. Then the request sent will be updated to self.setup. Then if the request is made for the play and we are in the ready, then the RTSP sequence number will be incremented by 1, and request will be made, and this line will be printed during the running of the code, and the RTSP's request sent will be updated to play. Then if the request is made for the pause and we are in the playing state, then the RTSP sequence number will also incremented by 1, and the request will be will be encoded, and this line will be printed during the running of the code, and the self request sent will be updated to the pause. Now, if the request is for tear down, then and we are not in the init state, then the RTSP sequence number will be incremented by 1, and the request for tear down will be made, and it will be encoded, and the request sent will be updated to tear down. In this way, all the four requests will be handled, and in each iteration, the required data will be printed. In the function play movie, there is a thread for starting the streaming, and if there are any previous connections, then they will be cleared, and the RTSP request will be sent by the client for the play. If the client requested for the play button, then the play movie function will be called. In that, the listen RTP function is called, which continuously receives the data packets, and this data will be stored in in a file named data. And first of all, it will decode the data, and the sequence number of the packets will be stored in the current frame number for printing it out during the running of the code. If the current frame number is greater than this frame number, then it will discard the late packet. This if condition is for discarding the late packet, and it uses the function update movie, which discards the late packet. And in that, the function write frame and get payload is used. The write frame is used for writing that frame again, and for calling it, the get payload function is used. In if the tier this is one more condition: if the tear down acknowledgement bit is 1, then the client is requesting for the closing, so it will close the connection between the server and the client. The write frame function, it will open the file and write the data into it, and then it will close it. Now the function receive RTSP reply. It is used by the client to send the acknowledgement bit according to the data it received. the the reply file will store the data, and it will decode it first of all, if and only if it is not an tear down request by the client. And if it is an tear down request, then it will close the connection between the server and the client. So for now, the function parse RTSP reply. It is used by the server for replying to the data according to the data it received. Now the function open RTP port, it will create a new datagram socket to receive the packets from the server. And here we have set the set timeout to be zero point 0.5 second. Now the function handler, it handles the different requests made, like pause movie, exit client, play movie, etc. And and now look at it, these three functions: pause movie, exit client, and play movie. The function pause movie will send the request for pausing the stream. Then the exit client will tear down for tear downing the stream. It will send the request for to the RTS to the function send RTSP request. Now this function master destroy will close the window which UI window which we have opened client launcher during the client launcher. And this function remove will delete all the cache which has been created. And this play movie will play this stream which we have discussed already. And this all these three requests will be made using the send RTSP request, which is already discussed previously in the video. Now we will run the code. Now we will create a PowerShell. Now we will create another PowerShell. Now we will set up the connection between client and server, and the connection is set up successfully. Now we will play it, and you can see the sequence numbers are printing, and we will now tear down it. Thank you.